So in a previous video, I talked about how last year I made over $8,000 in roughly 5 hours worth of total work spread throughout the year selling trade lines. And that became a pretty popular video, and some users were asking what are some of the best credit cards to get to use this method and to sell trade lines. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. What are the best credit cards to use in order to sell trade lines? This channel is dedicated to all things personal finance related, helping you earn more, spend less, and invest the difference. Now in this video, I'm not going to go too deep into what exactly selling a trade line entails, but I'll just give a quick 20-second recap. So essentially, some people that have less than stellar credit will reach out to credit repair companies trying to boost their score. And one thing that these credit card companies do is they match them up with people that are willing to put them as an authorized user on their credit cards. So if you have a decent credit score and some good credit cards, then this company will match you up and you will add somebody as an authorized user, and that person then is essentially piggybacking off of your good credit. Now this gives this other person a significant and immediate boost to their credit score, although it is a temporary boost. But during this time when they're getting this credit score boost, they are going to go out and apply for whatever loan it was that they were hoping for, maybe a mortgage or an auto loan, etc. And this person typically stays on your credit card for about 2 or 3 months, and then you are told to remove this person. Now this person at no point has access to actually spend any of your money on your credit card. They don't know your name, they don't know the account number, they don't know anything about you. And the credit card that is going to get sent out in the mail gets sent to you and not to them. So realistically, they have no way to spend your money. And if they did have a way to spend your money, then obviously nobody would ever use this method and it would not exist. If you're interested in learning more about the process of selling trade lines, you can check out this video right here. But make sure you stick around and watch this video to the end, because I'm going to be telling you what are some of the best credit cards to maximize your money using this method. Now for reference sake, this is a recent quote that I was quoted about a month or two ago from TRADELINESupply.com. And as you can see, the price of selling each individual trade line varies depending on the quality of your credit card. So typically they want cards that are older, more established credit cards, preferably 5 or 10 years or older, as well as cards that have very, very high credit limits, because this is going to be more valuable to the people that are buying these cards, and thus they're going to give you more money in return. So as you can see, this particular company, TRADELINESupply.com, they offer at least $40 per trade line, all the way up to $350 or more for some of the better credit cards out there. Now, most people don't have that high of credit limits on a lot of their credit cards, but something that is 5 years old or older and a $15,000 credit limit, that is very attainable for a lot of different people, and that's going to earn you $150 a pop. Now, if this person stays on your credit card for 2 months and then gets removed, maybe it takes another month in order for this credit repair company to get somebody else added. So maybe you get one person every 3 months. That means you're going to be making $600 per year on average for this one particular credit card. So $600 per card is pretty good, but what if you had 2, 3, 5, or 10 different credit cards, each earning you $600 or more per year? Now, in order to explain what are some of the best credit cards to use in order to make this trick work, to make a lot of money, I think the easiest place to start is actually what are some of the worst credit cards to use. Now, American Express is a fantastic credit card company. They have some of the better credit cards on the market. But when it comes to selling trade lines, American Express is not a very good company. All of the companies that I have talked to, none of them seem to actually accept American Express credit cards. So if a company doesn't accept American Express, then obviously it's going to be a terrible choice to use in order to sell trade lines. That's not to say that American Express has bad cards, they're just not good cards for this particular method. In addition, you're generally going to want to get credit cards that do not have an annual fee, unless you would otherwise be getting a lot of value for that annual fee, and you would pay that fee regardless if you were selling trade lines or not. Even credit cards that have a relatively small annual fee, remember it's going to take at least 2 years before you can actually use this credit card to sell trade lines with it. That means you would pay at least 2 years worth of annual fees before you can ever get up and running. And so it's going to take you a decent amount of time in order just to recoup those annual fees to begin with. And what's worse, some of the premium travel credit cards like the Chase Sapphire Reserve, fantastic card, but as a premium travel credit card, not only do they have ridiculously high annual fees, this card has about a $550 annual fee, but a lot of these travel credit cards also charge you a fee every time you add someone as an authorized user onto this credit card. The reason being is that this authorized user is then going to get access to airport lounges in addition to just access to your credit card in general. And that airport lounge access then of course costs the credit card company additional money, and that's why they charge you this fee. Now a $75 fee might be worth it if you're making $150 or more for each authorized user that you're adding. But if you're only getting $40 or something on the low end, then obviously paying $75 to get $40 in return, that doesn't make any sense. So typically some of the premium airline travel cards are not that great unless you've already had these cards for a while and they are 5 or 10 years older or more. Now if you refer back to the chart, obviously the two things that dictate how much you get paid is how long this particular credit card has been open and what the credit limit is. So when you're first starting out, obviously the best credit cards to use for this method are whatever will actually satisfy this criteria. Whatever you have in your wallet, that's where you want to start. But if you're going to apply for credit cards solely for the purpose of eventually using them for this method, then this is what I would recommend. Now, if you're applying for brand new credit cards to use with this method eventually, then keep in mind that obviously your credit age for this particular new credit card is going to be 0 years. So it's going to take you at least 2 years in order to be able to use this method with any new credit cards that you get. But 2 years is going to fly by regardless, and so you may as well start stocking up and accumulating a vast quantity of these different credit cards so that when you can actually use them, you have a bunch of different ones that you can sell and make a bunch of money. Now obviously you can't control the age of the credit card, that just has to happen organically as the credit card ages over time. But the second part of how you get paid, the amount of credit available on that particular credit card, that is something that you can control at least a little bit. Some credit card companies are very, very generous with their initial lines of credit, and others are very stingy. You might only get a credit limit of $500 or $1,000 or $2,500, etc. You want cards that have a very high credit limit, preferably $10,000, $20,000 or more. Now when it comes to cards that have very, very high initial credit limits, you can check out this video right here. It's going to walk you through some additional cards, but realistically, Chase is fairly notorious for giving out high initial credit limits on all of their cards. I would have to double check, but I don't think that any of my Chase credit cards, even the lower tier cards, have anything less than a $15,000 credit limit. Obviously, this could vary depending on your credit score and how much money you earn, but Chase generally has very high credit limits relative to other card companies out there. In addition, Chase just has some of the better credit cards on the market, along with American Express, who unfortunately you can't really use when you're selling these trade lines. So that's why I recommend getting Chase first. They have very high credit limits, and their cards are really good in general. You're probably going to be using these cards for your everyday spending habits. Now Chase has a 524 rule, which means that you cannot have applied and been accepted for more than 5 credit cards within the last 24 months, or else you will be automatically declined for any new Chase cards that you apply for, regardless of your credit score. So I suggest maxing out your Chase credit cards first. And once you've gotten those 5 credit cards that you're most interested in getting, then hopping over to the next company, which is going to be Barclays. Now these Barclays cards tend to also give very, very high credit limits initially, but these credit cards tend to be very industry specific. They are co-branded credit cards, specifically for travel, leisure type activities. So there are going to be airline credit cards like the JetBlue credit card or the Alaskan Airlines credit card, which is going to give you obviously Alaskan Airlines miles, or things like the Carnival Cruise credit card. Now there's nothing wrong with JetBlue or Alaskan or any of the other airlines that they offer, but they're much more specific and targeted, whereas Chase with their Ultimate Rewards points can be redeemed for a very, very wide variety of things. They're just generally a little bit more useful. So while it's unlikely that you're probably going to use these Barclays cards for your everyday spending habits, they are great credit cards in order to sell for trade line purposes because they have a very high initial credit limit. And the third company that I found that tends to give pretty high credit limits is Capital One. Cards like their Saver or Saver One tend to have pretty good limits relative to what other companies might offer. So that would probably be my third choice. And if you have access to some of the credit unions that typically work with military members like USAA, Navy Federal, or PenFed, then I would highly recommend getting those cards as well because they tend to have very high credit limits. Now when it comes to what particular card to get within these different companies, Chase, Barclays, or Capital One, etc., it's really individual preference depending on your particular spending habits. So if you fly a lot of Southwest, you might get some of the Chase's Southwest co-branded credit cards, or if you're looking for more just general spending, you might go with their Freedom Unlimited or Freedom Flex cards, etc. It really just kind of depends on your spending habits at that point. But one thing to keep in mind is that since you're going to be applying for new credit cards, you're going to want to keep the credit card initial sign-up bonus in mind. I usually apply for about 4 credit cards a year just to get the sign-up bonus. A lot of credit card companies offer somewhere between a $100 or a $500 or more sign-up bonus simply for getting this credit card and spending a certain amount of money within the first 3 months. So for example, a lot of different credit cards might offer $100 or $150 if you get this card and spend at minimum of $500 on this card within your first 3 months. Now, pretty much everybody is going to spend $500 in a 3-month time frame, so this $100 or $150 is literally just free money on top of it. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're applying for some of these credit cards. You're going to want to target credit cards that are going to be able to have an attainable sign-up bonus based on your spending. If the sign-up bonus is $5,000 in 3 months, that might be fine if you actually intend to spend $5,000 in the next 3 months. But if you don't spend anywhere near that amount, then maybe getting something a little bit less, a different credit card, might be a better option in order to get that sign-up bonus, because that sign-up bonus is immediate cash in your wallet while you're waiting for this credit card to age at least 2 years so that you can start using it to sell trade lines. Signing up for at least 4 credit cards a year can easily earn you between $400 to $2,000 a year just in sign-up bonuses alone. If you're interested in learning more about credit card sign-up bonuses, you can check out this video right here. So that's going to do it for us, folks. As a quick recap, if you're going to try to sell trade lines, you're probably going to want to avoid American Express credit cards in general because they don't seem to work very well with this particular method. And then you're going to want to target no annual fee credit cards that offer very, very high initial credit limits. Typically, companies like Chase, Barclays, or Capital One are going to be good choices when it comes to companies that give high initial credit limits. If you found this video useful, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment down below. I love hearing from you guys, and as always, I'll see you all again next time. Thanks.